Alright, my name is Dylan Gonzales. Today we're going to be tying a pheasant tail nymph. In the vise, I got a Daiichi 1110 in a size 18. For thread, we are going to be using Semperfli Nano Silk, brick beige color. And we are going to be using a golden olive pheasant tail color. I like this, but I guess it's just necessarily what your choice is. Come back up to the eye, just starting our thread out. I tie in 3 fibers, and I'm just going to go ahead and tie them here on top, right behind the eye, so we keep the body fairly even. I like these guys just to be a little bit longer than the hook gap in length. We'll go ahead and bring the thread to the bend of the hook and back up. So at this point, I just pull these guys over. I used 3 tails on a pheasant tail just to imitate a Baetis, as well as I like the body to remain flat. That's another thing that this nano silk is pretty good at. Lays down nice and flat. Next, we're going to be using ultra wire. This is an extra small size in gold. I'll tie this in towards me, but on top of the hook. Just come back to the bend, come back up to the front of the hook, about an eye length right behind. We'll go ahead and grab our pheasant tail fibers, and I counter wrap them. So I wrap them opposite of how I'd wrap the thread. And we're just going to come back up. If you let go of the pheasant tail fibers, they'll orient flat, so they lay right next to each other. This creates a nice flat pheasant tail body. So once I get to just behind, just where my thread's at, go ahead and capture this off. I take a couple wraps front, couple wraps behind. Just kind of lock these guys down, then we'll go ahead and remove it. Okay, so since I counter wrapped my pheasant tail, I can wrap my wire normally. And I like this because I think it adds the segmentation of this fly just a little bit more uniform than if I was to counter wrap the wire. So like once again, a couple wraps in front, a couple wraps behind, and we'll helicopter this wire right off. Now, going back to the pheasant tail fiber, I grab about half dozen or so fibers, and I'll tie them in by their tips rather than their butts. The only reason I do that is because back here there's a little black tag, and I like my thoraxes or my wing case better to have that golden color. So I'll cut that off square, wrap that, catch that in on top. I like to have my thorax be about 2 eye lengths back from the eye. So next we'll go ahead and tie peacock herl in. I like to do this by cutting about an inch or so away from the brittle tips. So this helps with durability of wrapping. I busted one off there. I also tie in multiple fibers at once, just because I like the standard bushiness it gives, for lack of a better word. Go ahead and tie this in, capture it on top. Lock that in place. We'll go ahead and cut this with scissors. Okay, now for my legs. A lot of people pull over the pheasant tail fiber and then pull legs back. I think that most legs bust off that way. I like to use Beavis body quill, and I'll cut about a 4-inch section of this, and then cut that 4-inch section in half. And the way I'm going to tie this in is going to be just wrapped around the thread, just like this. I'll attach it to one side, take about 2 wraps, 3 wraps going back, advance back towards the eye, and then repeat the process on the other side. I'll give myself a little more room to work with. So if I just come right here, probably block the whole camera view, latch just a little bit like that. And you can see how that's going to splay these legs out. So now if you wiggle your pheasant tail and then pull it forward, it'll flatten out that wing case, give it a nice pronounced wing case. I'll make a couple wraps behind, a couple wraps up front. Reach into my scissors. You can break these off if you want to break them off one by one. It does tend to go opposite of what you want though. You will break off some pheasant tail fibers in your wing case. So next we'll reach for the whip finisher, and then I do about 4 whip finishes, and then I come right over the eye, and then I'll yank on this back and it'll pull everything. Give me a nice clean eye. Come in and cut my thread off, and then we're going to cut these guys to length. I like to pull these guys just behind the thorax. I like to go maybe 1 or 2 fibers longer than that, if we're going to get to a microspect of it. Then I'll grab a Bic red Sharpie, and then I colored the top of it. I'll just lay a little bit of Sharpie on top. Next, we're going to grab some Diamond Find UV resin, and we're just going to go ahead and add that to a needle, and I like to just apply it right here on top. You want to get part of the pheasant tail covered to ensure that that doesn't pull out. Hit it with the UV light. And that's going to complete our pheasant tail. So I tie these in a couple different sizes. I don't necessarily go too big. 18 is a pretty standard size for me. I go down to probably about 22. Anything less than that, I'll switch my base pattern. Definitely a productive nymph. Fish it in just about any water. But I hope you liked the video, and thank you for watching. That came out great. Had that sucker good, huh? Very good.